Welcome to the 70th Annual Cherokee National Holiday Quilt Show. We're located in the Chota Conference Center inside of the Cherokee Casino in the heart of the Cherokee Nation Reservation. The Conference Center has been prepared and decorated by the talented Michael Hamlin with gorgeous plants and silk arrangement donated by Eric Osborne of Archer Flowers and Gifts, located right here in the heart of Cherokee Nation Reservation. We want to thank both of these gentlemen for their hard work and contributions in creating this amazing space. We would also like to pay homage to the ladies and gentlemen that worked very hard to get this put on together for us. We would also like to thank Colin Mays, banquet manager of the Chota Conference Center, for his excellent hospitality. This year's quilt show coordinator is Deborah Harrell. Hello, Deborah. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes this year's holiday quilt show so special?
Yes. First of all, it's the 70th, which is amazing. I'm so happy that we've made it 70 years. Second, this is a record number that we've had this year. 74 quilts. That's the first time we've ever had that many. Previously, it was only 72, so we've upped it 2, so maybe next year we'll get 2 more.
Wow. This is a quilt show that just continues to grow and grow. I understand there's a special announcement coming as well.
Yes, there is. On Saturday afternoon, there will be a special unveiling of the themed entry. It was brought here from Tennessee by a special lady, and she is going to unveil it, and it's going to be a special surprise, and it will be unveiled after the State of the Nation address. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Absolutely. That's exciting. Okay, let's come over to this year's ribbon winners.
Okay, so when you start trading, ready, here, you get in position. All right. If she's walking over.
We hope that people can come out to this year's Cherokee National Holiday Quilt Show. As you can see, the tables here are loaded with door prizes. We ask when people come in that they get registered for a door prize that'll be awarded throughout the Cherokee National Holiday. The first quilt that we're going to come to is going to be Chief's Choice Award 2002, and it was awarded to Miss Avis Schote. Avis Schote's quilt is called the Dahlia. It is machine pieced and hand quilted. The owner is Avis Schote, and it was also pieced by her. It was quilted by a group called the Crazy Quilters. This quilt was made for her great-granddaughter, Briley Rose, and this quilt has a little bit of a story. The story is, she said the quilt is a dahlia, but for her rose. She chose the lighter pastel colors to keep it soft and colorful. The quilting is feathers that seem to swirl. So there's just so much detail in this quilt. All of the colors just coordinate together perfectly. It's just amazing when you can see it in person. I hope that for the viewers you can see it on the screen. It's the point that it's hand quilted is just blows my mind, because if you can see on the stitching, there's not only the decoration and the quilt itself, but the quilting itself also has a pattern. And like I said, to know that that was hand quilted by these ladies is amazing. I would like to also mention that this quilt actually won 3 awards. It got 3rd place for the machine pieced hand quilted category. Like I mentioned, it did get Principal Chief's Award, and it also got Deputy Principal Chief's First Lady Choice. So as you can imagine, it's a pretty special quilt. I'm sure Miss Schote is pleased with winning these awards, and I've heard that the awards and the ribbon will be going to her great-granddaughter, as like she mentioned, that's who this quilt was actually made for. We're going to go on over to the next category, which is Deputy Chief's Award. This was won by Michelle Newton. Michelle Newton's quilt is called Love for Rayleigh. It is machine pieced and machine quilted. It is owned, pieced, and quilted all by Michelle. The story on her quilt is her niece Rayleigh asked for a new quilt, so they went fabric shopping and picked out this fabric. This quilt was made specifically for Riley. I don't know if you can see any of the details. Each of the hearts is coordinated together. This quilt not only has hearts on the design, but also the quilting has hearts. And then, do you care to grab me a glove, Deborah? It's also got pretty good detail on the back. Some of the pieces and some of the patterns that you can see throughout the quilt. You can also see right here on the border edging, and the back you can kind of see how much detail there is in the quilting itself. So we're going to move on to our next category. And this one, I think, will have fans of all different ages. This is the First Lady of the Cherokee Nation Chief Award 2002. It's actually also Michelle Newton, who was the winner on the previous quilt. This quilt itself is named Project of Doom. It is paper pieced. It is owned, pieced, and quilted by Michelle Newton. She says on the story, as a lover of all things Harry Potter, I knew I had to make this quilt when I saw it online. The whole pattern is free, so give it a try. It is fun to make. I love that Michelle encourages people to get into quilting and to make this quilt. Being a Harry Potter quilt, and this is for Harry Potter fans alike. I don't know if you can zoom in. It says right here, you could be great. You know, it's all here in your head. It's got the famous owl from Harry Potter. So many things on here are detailed and pay homage to Harry Potter. This quilt's amazing. Even the little border, as you can see, has the little Harry Potter symbol on it. And so this is First Lady's Award. And this quilt is just amazing. I think this is going to be famous with the kids for sure.
I agree. And Michelle doesn't know that she's won yet, so this is going to be a big surprise if she's watching. So I hope she is.
And with this quilt, I actually learned earlier that Michelle is actually a librarian here in town. So for her quilt to have the bookshelf, the bookcase, and the books, to me, pays homage to Michelle as a librarian. And it would be a nice piece to hang on the library, but I think anybody would be happy to have this piece.
I agree. The First Lady actually asked if it was for sale because she would really like to have it.
Oh, it's a much sought after.
So maybe Michelle will hear that and make her one.
All right, now we're going to make it over to First Daughter's Choice Award 2002. This quilt is especially special. Number one, it was chosen by the first daughter. It did also win third place in its category. This quilt was actually made by Hunter Sanders. It's titled Generation After Generation. The category that it was entered in is Youth Quilting Projects Under 12. Hunter is the owner. He also pieced and quilted this project. And his story says, my quilt is a story of our people the way I see it. It's my understanding that Hunter drew each piece on the quilt. This quilt, as you can see, was actually pieced together with yarn. This quilt was 100% made by Hunter. Deborah, did you mention how young Hunter is?
If I'm not mistaken, he's 7 years old.
So 7 years old.
Really excited about it.
That goes to show you're never too young to get into quilting. And the first daughter picked this, and I know that's going to be special, and that may just get him to want to win an award every year, and that's going to be something for him to thrive for. That's wonderful. And then our next quilt, this rack is actually empty. This is going to be Viewer's Choice Award 2022. So on this award, whenever you come to the Cherokee National Holiday Quilt Show, when you enter the room, we're going to ask that you pick up a ballot. When you pick the ballot up, you'll take that ballot with you throughout looking at the quilts. You'll write down the number off the quilt that is your choice, and then on Sunday, Viewer's Choice Award will be awarded to the quilt with the most votes. So that award is actually based on the public's decision. So we'd like you to come out and go ahead and vote for that and make someone a ribbon winner. All right, now we're going to go down and look at the quilts throughout the quilt show.
Megan, I think we actually have Martha Taylor here that placed first in her category.
Okay.
Let's see if we can find her and have her tell us about her beautiful quilt.
Great.
All right. But before we do that, can we talk to the other youth person that won second in her category? Her name is Lexi Limor. And she got second place in making her quilt, and here she is.
Hi, Lexi. I understand that you entered a quilt this year in the National Quilt Show. Can you tell me a little bit about that quilt?
That me and my mom put the clips on, and I sewed it.
What is your quilt called?
My America.
My America, I like that. And can you tell me how you got started in quilting? Is that something that you saw your mother do?
She showed me the first part. Like, she asked me if I wanted to make the quilt, and then she showed me the first part of how to make it, and then I started making it myself.
Now, I understand that your quilt has a ribbon hanging on it. Is that correct? So you won already this year. Is this your first year to do a quilt in the National Quilt Show? Well, that's wonderful. I'm very...
going to be your last, right, Lexi? Right. And the First Lady also commented that she had done a wonderful job on her quilt.
So that's quite a compliment, isn't it, Lexi? All right. Well, so I look forward to seeing your quilt next year. Are you going to be back next year for another quilt? Maybe you can go home today and start picking it out and working on it. Let's get a ribbon next year too. You want to? Sounds great to me. All right. Thank you and congratulations.
Okay, let's see if we can find Martha. Ah, right here she is. Let's get over here and talk to Martha. She's the one that made this beautiful quilt right here and won first place in her category. So, Megan, I'll let you and Martha discuss her quilt.
All right. Mrs. Taylor, so this quilt is machine pieced and hand quilted, and it's titled Ashley. Can you tell me the story behind this quilt?
Not the name Ashley, I can't, but my daughters gave me a gift certificate to a quilt shop in Oklahoma City, and finally I went to redeem my gift certificate, and then I kept the material for about 5 years after that because I was afraid to cut into it, afraid I'd mess it up, and then COVID came along, so I got brave enough to cut into it. I only made one wrong cut, and I had enough material to fix that. So, and then my quilting group quilted it starting March of this year, March the 1st.
Wow, this whole thing was quilted from March until now?
No, it didn't take near that long. We've quilted 3 quilts from March.
And I noticed this is the one that Mrs. Schote, so your quilting group, the Crazy Quilters, gets very busy and they get at it. Like you said, the material on it is definitely breathtaking and it all coordinates together. So like you said, when you get it and see the craftsmanship in it, it does make you realize all the time and effort. And the hand quilted, when I look at it, I always just assume all quilts are machine quilted. And to see the design in the background, to see the design that's on each and every pattern, and to know that somebody's hand quilted that is truly amazing. So will you be keeping this quilt for yourself or will you be gifting it to someone?
I think I'll keep it for myself.
I don't blame you there. I don't blame you there. I think you can be a little selfish with it for a while. What do you think?
I probably shouldn't be recording saying something like this, but I plan to put it on my casket when I die.
Well, now I think that's beautiful homage, and there's not anything more appropriate or more beautiful. Yes. All right. Well, we hope you enjoy the quilt show. We're glad you came out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm enjoying it so far.
Well, while we're talking about the Crazy Quilters, let's just come over here and take a look at a couple that we still have here. This one was made by Mildred Taylor, and it's called How the West Was Won. She's also one of the Crazy Quilters, as well as this one that got 3rd place, and it's called the Jelly Roll. First Lady said she should have changed the name and made it Strawberry Shortcake because that's what it reminded her of. And her granddaughter said it looked like floor tiles. So it doesn't even have the correct name, apparently. But she thought it was hilarious that her quilt has been given these 2 different nicknames.
Strawberry shortcake is appropriate.
Right? I agree.
Yes.
I thought it was
I think it's
very
beautiful.
appropriate. Yeah. So then I think we have another lady back here. Another Crazy Quilter up here. Let's look at this one. This is called the Disappearing Hourglass, Megan.
Wow.
And Pat has a sample that we don't have out here, but it kind of shows how you cut it out and then you change it, and you have to cut it in thirds, and then it makes this beautiful pattern.
And like you said, I can kind of see when you look at the quilt that the disappearing hourglass, how it goes from the purple's on the white's on the purple, and like you said, it all just coordinates. And to know that somebody has done this piece by piece is truly amazing. And like Mrs. Taylor said, the Crazy Quilters are very busy.
Oh, yes.
Very busy and very talented.
Every Tuesday they meet at this same building and quilt away.
And quilt each other's quilts.
They do. Help
Good-
each other.
Good times, good work,
Yeah.
good company.
And I think that we have back here, I think we have Pamela Cowart, who always enters our show, and I can always count on her help and her beautiful quilts as well. I think she's standing back here by one of her quilts. It's called You Are My Sunshine. Hey, Pam. How are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you today. This is probably one of my favorites right here. You know I always love your
Aw,
yellows
you're so
because I just
sweet.
think it's always so pretty. But what I love about this quilt is that the words to "You Are My Sunshine" are on here.
Yes.
And I think that's amazing. And the little bees, I think it's so pretty. I actually love this a lot. I love it a lot.
happy.
Yeah. How long did it take you to make it?
It took me probably about 3 months, I'd say, putting it together, figuring out the pattern where you want to put,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And I love how the blocks are different sizes.
Yes.
You have a little block, a longer, how they're all turned on different directions, but it all lays out perfectly. It all works together great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like Deborah said, I love the piece in the middle. Is that called a panel?
Yes, it is a panel.
Do you buy this all together, or do you pick the material that goes together?
I picked everything to go with it, but you can buy the panel. You know, usually you just buy a panel and then you just kind of figure what you want and how you want it to come out, and the fabric you pick usually goes with, something in the panel that you like, and that's kind of where it starts.
Which is the art part of making a quilt.
Oh, I agree.
Because I wouldn't have a clue how to do that.
No, and like Pamela said, you can buy the kit, but that doesn't tell me how to put it together. And I love how the quilting details, I can tell it really here in the black. Even the quilting is the sunflowers.
Yes.
So no attention to detail has been left off.
That's what makes them beautiful, I
Yes,
guess,
yes.
in the art.
She also made this quilt hanging next to it here as well,
Yes.
which I think is very pretty. I love it that it's wonky.
Yes.
I love that name. And then I
Wonky
looked
Holiday
at the quilting
Star.
and I get the wonky. It's wonky. And I love that. I thought this was really pretty.
A wonky
Love a
star.
holiday quilt.
Right.
Love a holiday quilt. That is just gorgeous.
And this is made from that, it's a new flannel. It's suede flannel.
Wow,
so it's like a
it does
softer-
look super soft.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
super
it's real
soft.
soft.
I actually touched it earlier.
And then, just like we said with the sunflowers, you can see snowflakes in the quilting. That is just amazing. Now, can somebody expect this under their Christmas tree this Christmas?
Me? Me, maybe?
Deborah wants to throw her name in the hat for that. If it's looking for a
always do,
home,
though,
Deborah
right?
would
Yeah,
rehome it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always want my name in the hat on her
I
quilts.
think
She
my
makes
hubby's
beautiful
kind
quilts.
of picked this one as his couch.
Okay, well,
And
I don't
he's
blame
here
him.
somewhere.
with
I
that.
know he is here
No,
somewhere,
he's
right?
not
Oh, he's not here?
Not
Oh,
today.
okay.
He's working.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I might have to try to
That
talk to
takes
him
his
and
name
get that
out of it.
out, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
his name's out of it now, right? Because he's not here.
You must be
Declared
present
it,
to win.
right?
Yeah.
He's out of it now. So, well, thank you, Pam, for explaining all of that
Well,
to us.
thank
But
you.
as always, we really appreciate you entering our quilt show. I can always count on you, and that makes me have comfort knowing I'm going to have at least 2 quilts.
I love my Cherokee quilt show.
Thank
We look
you
forward to
so
seeing what
much.
you're going to bring next year.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm working on some stuff, and
Yay! See, she's already
already-
ready to roll for
already
next
That's
year.
what- that's what
I'm
we like to
excited
hear.
about that. Exactly. We also have the mother of Lexi Limore, Nikki Baker Limore, and she's here with us, and she has a couple of entries back here. So I think we have to move to the next aisle. But if we could do that and get her over here, and she could tell us about her quilts.
Is it 2 over?
I think it's 2 over. Yeah. Maybe it's 2 over. No, one's right here, this one. So Nikki, come tell us about this quilt. I know you told me that there was a special fabric that you used in it. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but tell Megan how you,
okay.
about it.
This is called Stay Golden. Machine piece, machine quilted. And so it's got metallic material.
Yes. And actually, this right here, if you feel it, it's actually puffed out. And one thing I learned the hard way when I was making the pieces is you can't iron that. It actually will dissolve that design. I've never had that with fabric before. So
Which is definitely a challenge.
it is. So I had to iron from the back. And anyway, so it was different to work with, and it was just shiny and fun, and it was just fun to pick out matching.
That was going to be my next question. Is this all from the same person, meaning the company that makes the material? Does all this coordinate, or did you just find this different brands and
Yeah.
just put it together?
I had this left over from a quilt I had made, and I liked it, and I thought, what can I add with it? So off to Joann's and holding the swatch of fabric and just trying to match so I could use what I already had and then add to it.
I love, like you said, the metallic, love the border. It's very classy. Now, this gold piping, that's separate from that piece of material. You've had to sew that separately.
Correct, yes. These are called piano keys. And so when I
Oh,
was
well,
shopping,
it does look just like piano keys.
I saw the piping and I thought, oh, there's some more gold. So again, stay golden. It was like everything basically had to be golden to kind of go in that quilt.
Wow. And the piping, to me, just adds to it, makes a little bit of pop. So you did excellent on choosing that.
Thank you.
Wow.
Staying golden, she also won first place on a T-shirt quilt back here that I love. And I don't have some of these T-shirts, so Nikki, if you'll come around and
Okay.
tell us about these. I have quite a few T-shirts from working at Cherokee Nation,
Sure.
but none of these.
Right.
But
And I-
this one pretty much is my favorite. I love this one.
Yes, yes. So yeah, a lot of these were from conferences I attended for work. I worked in Indian child welfare along with domestic violence. So a lot of these shirts have to do with that. And I adopted my daughter from Indian child welfare, and so this shirt is the shirt I wore at her adoption.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they each have a special meaning. And I just wanted to be able to remember all of these different events in my life through my career at Cherokee Nation. And so it was fun to make.
But don't you also have a son that's fixing to take off to college?
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about that quilt?
Okay. So this one's titled Dear Son, and all throughout it, when I saw the pattern, it just gives them little pieces of advice. And so he just graduated, he's starting his college career, and I felt like I wanted to make him something that he could look to and just kind of gather advice. And I actually made a special tag for the back of it. And you actually have to get a magnifying glass to read it. And again, just kind of makes it more special.
Sure.
But in there, I give him additional advice that's just kind of between mom and son.
That is so amazing.
About, things throughout his life to kind of keep in mind. So it was really fun to make, and he hasn't seen it yet. So after the
this is a
show,
surprise.
yes, it will be a surprise for him.
Awesome.
Oh, my goodness.
My favorite saying on there was "Let your soul and spirit fly." I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll be something that he will keep in his mind for a long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Nikki.
You bet.
Now, on this T-shirt quilt, I know that's popular with people right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have T-shirts. A lot of them want to make a T-shirt quilt.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what the challenges are with it, where they would even start?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that is not experienced in quilting.
Sure. So you can either do like 14, 12, or 16 inches. So if it's a small child, you need to realize you're not going to have 16 inches worth of material to work with. So it's going to depend on the size of the shirt and then how big the item is on the front. So if it's got tons of graphics, 16 might kind of cut into it. So you really have to take your T-shirts, measure them, and kind of make sure they're all going to fit with the same pattern. And then it's just doing that, figuring out the size, cut them all precisely, and then just adding a border. You can do all sorts of extra applique if you wanted, and applique neat little designs or flowers. So you can get as creative with a T-shirt quilt as you want, or as plain as you would like. Just kind of depends on what that person prefers.
Now, we've mentioned this quilt's for your son.
Mm-hmm.
Is the T-shirt quilt for anybody special?
So my husband kept saying he was getting cold and he wanted me to make him a really thick quilt, make them real thick, because they do seem to be thinner these days because the fabric is thin. So this is going to be his quilt out of T-shirts, because I was just thinking, well, a T-shirt's good material. So yes, this one will go to my husband because I will now meet his criteria of a thick, heavy quilt. He wanted something big.
Well, ask and you shall receive. He's going to be
Yes.
blessed by it, I'll tell you that. All right.
Yep.
Thank you,
Okay,
Nikki. We
thank
appreciate you
you.
entering.
You bet.
And congratulations on your ribbons.
All right, well, let's just kind of mosey back here. This is a first place quilt that was by Leanne Burgess. Leanne is also has the Front Porch Quilt Shop up in Stillwell and does beautiful work and has beautiful fabric. This is called the Lone Wolf Guitar. It was owned by Leanne, pieced by Leanne, and quilted by Leanne. Sorry. It was originally done by Laura Hine of Fiberworks, but it's a college quilting technique, which I'm not sure what that is, but looking at it, it looks really hard.
Yes, it's very beautiful. And I noticed the detail on it. It even has ribbon down for the strings.
Right.
So I noticed the guitar cut out right away, and you think, oh, okay, it's a guitar. Well, that's neat. But like I said, to see the ribbons,
And then the picks up there, do you see those?
oh my
I just think those are amazing.
goodness.
I think that is really amazing there. This was one of my favorites.
Oh, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
apparently everyone else's.
I think the judges agree, don't you
Yes,
think?
I do. I do. We also want to pay homage to this one. This is the Stillwell Strawberry Festival celebrating 75 years quilt. It was made for the Stillwell Kiwanis Club for special auction at the Strawberry Festival. The proceeds went to help with community service and scholarships. So it's a beautiful quilt. I'm sure it's not for sale, but it apparently was going to be auctioned off. So I don't know if that has happened yet. Maybe we can find that out later on.
This is beautiful. I love how it's pixelized. You know, you can see the strawberry. The strawberry's won a blue ribbon at the show, has the date, has Stillwell, Oklahoma. So like you said, it's certainly a timepiece that anybody would be lucky to have.
I agree. So we want to go back here and show a couple of the quilts back here, if we can do that. We talked about Lexi Limore, the little girl that we met earlier. I want to show her quilt. It is very beautiful. She did an excellent job on it. This is it. It's called My America.
All right, and her quilt was entered into the category of projects for children under the age of 12. And Lexi wanted to learn to quilt, and this quilt involves 2-inch squares and seemed easy enough for a child. Her mom helped her pick the fabric. She cut and sewed the pieces by herself, and Lexi is 7 years old. What I love about it, Deborah, is that it's all red, white, and blue. It all coordinates, but you notice the different materials, the different patterns, how
Right.
it's all red, white, and blue. And I think my favorite part of the quilt kind of pays homage to Lexi is the back
Right,
is
I
the
love that.
rocket popsicle.
Right.
And to me, that just makes it fun, both sides, inside and out. This
and
would
that
be
shows the youth.
yes, this would be a very cute quilt. I could see somebody having this spread out on the ground, watching
Right.
the fireworks show from
Right.
it. Yeah, at a cookout, hot dogs, and
Yep.
7 years old and already won a ribbon.
Already.
In the quilt
and
show.
is planning another one
Yes,
already, and I
yes.
love that. I love that.
I think
We
her mom
have-
better watch out. She's got some competition.
She's got competition, right? Yeah. We have one more in the youth quilt that I would like to show, just so that these young children know that we appreciate all their efforts that they have worked so hard for. And this one actually won first place. It's Kelsey Dawn Elizabeth Schote. It's called A Day in Paris. And it says that she had a dress made from this fabric, and her great granny Avis cut out the pieces for her to make a doll quilt. And then her great granny also quilted it for her, but she did all of the sewing together of all the little pieces, which is pretty small on those little spots.
Very, very. And looking at this, what I see, Deborah, is I can see this quilting being in her future.
Oh, sure.
Basically, all this is it's a miniature version of all the quilts that we see hanging here.
I totally agree.
I mean, for Kelsey to do this at such a young age and have this kind of talent, I see on her story, she said she loves Paris and dreams of going there one day.
Yes.
And that's definitely in her horizon.
It is.
And I hope that the Cherokee National Holiday is something that's in her future because, like we said, the detail work, the patience for kids under 12 to be able to sit and do this and piece it together. Like Nikki had mentioned earlier, you make a mistake or you iron something else, you have to start all over.
Right.
For the kids to be dedicated and put this time and dedication
Right.
into it. Quilting is definitely a dying art.
I agree.
It's an art, like we said, that you buy these pieces of material, it's just laying in front of you. You have to cut it a certain way. You have to get it to lay a certain way. Even when you cut everything just right, then you have to sew it for it to come out.
I agree.
So for the time and dedication and for kids not to give up on that, to me, that's
Well, and
amazing.
she has a good example. Her great-grandmother just won the Chiefs Award and the Deputy Chief's First Lady Award. So I think that she's got someone that can teach her how to do it pretty well, don't you?
I agree. I think Kelsey's got some big shoes to fill.
Right, she does. Right, she does. Well, Megan, what do you think? You think that we have paid tribute to this quilt show and showed all the beautiful quilts, or do we need to go around and let the viewers see a few more quilts?
Well, let's look at a few more quilts, I think. Let me look over here. Sandra Reynolds right here in the baby quilt is paying homage to her Cherokee heritage. This baby quilt features items used by the Cherokees throughout history. She said that it features a teepee, dream catcher, war horse, pottery, arrowheads, and arrows. And speaking of Cherokee homage, there's a quilt here. Deborah, do you know where the Buffalo Quilt is that I looked at earlier that was kind of pixelized?
I do, and I think it's right on the opposite, or right in front of us here on the other
Okay.
side. If we can walk around to that, I think that we
Okay.
will be able to see that. When you first look at it with the naked eye, you can see that the shape of the bison, but you don't really get the full effect until it's actually in your lens.
Yes.
And then you can see that buffalo just pops out, and it is actually beautiful.
Yes. And I even like the story. This is Michelle Newton, who also won the two prizes.
The two prizes up, the prestigious awards up
Okay.
front. Yes.
And what her story on this quilt is my husband asked for a new quilt. I told him pick a pattern. He asked if she wanted a challenge, and she said sure. So they took a picture. They took it at the Cherokee National Bison Ranch, and they converted it to a quilt pattern, and it turned out wonderful. And she said it was nice working together. And like we said, it is all pixelized, but when you stand back, and when I have to admit, when I first saw it, I noticed it and thought, okay, this is very unique. But then when I stood back, someone said, can you see the buffalo? And just like one of those pictures that you have to stare at for a while, all of a sudden the buffalo just pops out at you.
Yeah, I was looking at it and I realized it was a buffalo, but then when I was going to take the picture of it for my Facebook page, it popped out and I was surprised to see how it really came to life.
So kind of an optical illusion. You take a picture with your
Right.
phone and then it really comes
Right.
together.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. And that, to me, that just goes to show how quilting is changing with technology.
I agree.
You know, we talked about Mrs. Schultz with her two quilts.
Right.
I'm sure when she started out quilting, she did not have the technology that she has now.
No, she did not.
So, I mean, the things that these young quilters can do. I did see a ballerina quilt.
Yes, and that's paying homage to our Native American ballerinas. It's called the Prima Ballerina,
Okay.
and I think it's a very beautiful tribute.
It looked very challenging. It almost looks lifelike.
Right. There's a lot of movement, and that's what I like about it. And
Yeah.
it's a paper piece.
What does paper pieced mean exactly?
Well, you're going to get me to tell you something I don't know, but I do know it has to do with paper, and that's something to do with that. And I know one of these ladies in here probably knows exactly what that is. But
And I
do
just
not.
noticed how, you know, normally in quilting, everything is square. This one has lots of curves. Even her dress, it comes to a point at the end. Her toe comes to a point at the end. Prima Ballerina was done to honor all Native American ballerinas, and this is by Joanne Dew.
Yes.
I think that's
Joanna
amazing.
do. Yeah, yeah, I think it's beautiful. This little Indian girl's right here is one of the quilts that actually came from Tennessee as well, and
So-
all of the braids are loose. They are attached to the head around the part here, right here. But if you can see, the braids are loose.
Okay.
And I think that is spectacular.
Little Indian
That
girls.
took a lot of time.
She started the applique on the girls in 2020, finished the meandering and skirts and shawls in August 22. This is from a Quilt Made Easy pattern book called Sunbonnet Sue's Neighborhood. And to me, like you said, that's also homage with the hair, the shawls. When I first saw this, I didn't realize that it was the shawls on the Indians. Anybody who is lucky enough to go to the powwows that we have, you see the women in their shawls out there. And yeah, this is truly a much-deserved ribbon quilt.
I agree. My mother made a pillow for me one time when I was a little girl with just one of the patterns, but it didn't attach here. There was just a little braid that came from here to here. So we've talked about how pretty this is, that it's went all the way around her head. And so, but I've been enjoying this pattern for a lot of years,
It's a classic.
and I don't want to tell how old I am, so don't ask me.
Well, it's a classic.
It is.
This black and white quilt,
Now, this
it
is
looks
called
like
50 Shades of Layers.
I can see and look how much detail, even the detail in sewing the squares together. How
Right.
it's got different, almost like is that merger?
I'm not sure what that's called when they do that. But it's very beautiful. I love all the little
Yes,
details in it.
Yes. And all the black and white, and to me, that would be challenging. There's lots of
Very.
material out there, but normally everything has a pop of color.
Right?
So that means when Janet found this, she would have had to, it's only can have black and white only. And yeah, she got third place in the applique category. Looks like her story, Deborah says, I like the piece with big squares so the top grows quickly. This contains 12 huge blocks with layers of 17 inches, 13 inches, 11 inches, 7 inches, 3-inch squared, all appliqued while watching TV and playing with a stitch selector on her brother machine. This was a black and white stash buster. And like she said, it's a way to use all the scrap pieces. I know with quilters, they save every piece and no piece goes unused. And this was a
Right.
good way for her to use it. Like she said, with the big square, the little one, and how they all turn. Almost a three-dimensional look.
Right. And it looks like we have one of our little quilter ladies creeping in behind you there. You turn around there and give a shout out to Mrs. Hines, right? Yes. She has entered our quilt show. And so if she tell us which one is your quilt?
I have the double wedding ring.
The double wedding ring.
The ones with the biggest on it. And the orange
The ones
one was at the Mountain Vista, but you've got the wrong
story.
story on it.
Okay.
That
We need-
happens.
We need to go see the
Let's
double
go.
wedding ring.
Yes, the double wedding ring and the.
Do you want to come with us and we'll go look at your quilt? That way you can tell us a little bit about the quilt, how you decided on it.
This is the double wedding ring, and the double wedding ring is a very old pattern.
About deciding on it because,
It's a very old pattern, right, Mrs. Hines?
yes, and the girls have been after me for years to make them one, and I told them no, no,
Your,
no.
your own children have been asking you to make
My
them one?
girls, yes, and so I,
Did you only make one?
no, I made two
You made
at the
two.
same time,
Okay.
and,
That way there's no fighting over the one that you made, right?
right. And
Well,
so,
there was.
they wanted me to make one for their girls, which would have been four more.
And what was your response to that?
No, never again.
Well, as you can see, though, Megan, look at all those little tiny pieces, and at the time that it probably took her to sew all those together, it's amazing to me. So, wonder how old this pattern is. Do you know, Mrs. Hines?
No, I don't.
No?
I don't know it, but I do know that, I said it took 2 years because I got tired of making it, and I'd lay it back, and then I get it. And then I was a little bit intimidated by
The border?
how to get those to look nice. You see, some of them don't really.
Well, I think you nailed it.
I
And,
think you did, too.
So one day I thought, well, I took it to, do you remember Sue Presley had the quilt shop in here in town?
No, that was, I'm from Marble City. I have not been up here much to see who has the quilt shows or
Anyway,
quilt
I went
stores.
to her. She was nearly blind, and she showed me how to make those scallops.
She
And
passed
so-
that knowledge on to you?
Yes.
Well, then you can pass that knowledge on to other women, right? But one of my favorites that you made is it's called Flying Home. Is that right?
Geese.
Flying Geese. Okay, I probably put the wrong name on that, didn't I?
No.
No, it does say Flying Geese. This is one of my favorites that you made. It is absolutely beautiful.
Wow.
I did say Flying Home because that's what I thought it said on your application.
I enlarged it from the pattern,
Okay.
and I didn't have enough of the blue. Of the material to make the geese, so I had to have the quilter put those geese inside those.
So you just improvised.
Right.
And
But
to
what an improvisation.
Yes, yes.
And then it shows up, of course, on the back.
Let's show this part. The back is where it's really gorgeous. If we can pull it around enough to see it.
Oh, yes, that's gorgeous. And I actually like it. Of course, like we say, Miss Hines, everybody can have their own interpretation from it. But to me, the two geese that you had the quilters put on there, it's almost like all the geese are representing those of us here. And then the geese that are not out of material, to me, that's like the ones that are with us in spirit.
Right.
So,
I made this one at the same time I made the double wedding rings. Because my son didn't want a double wedding
he
ring.
did, so this one's for your son.
Yes.
Wow. And I love how you did the colors down here, how it goes from lighter to darker to dark. And I mean, it was like we were talking about that double wedding ring, all the little tiny squares you cut out. Look at the tiny triangles you cut out here.
And these are, of course, you probably know because you must be a quilter, but they're all called flying geese.
That's what that cut is called.
Right.
Oh
All these
my
triangles
goodness.
are called flying geese.
Wow. So like you said, even though your daughters wanted the double wedding ring, you couldn't leave your son out.
No.
Did he get to pick this pattern or did you pick it for him?
He picked it.
He did. He did. So this may be under the Christmas tree for him this year.
Well, I have already given it to him. I took it back for the show.
Well, I appreciate you letting us borrow that for the show.
And I'm going to tell him that I had, they weren't there when I went to get them.
That's right. That's exactly right. That is sweet. Yes. How long have you been quilting?
Probably since really serious quilting since 2000.
Wow. Is there anybody in your family that you're passing this on to?
No, they're not interested.
Nobody's interested?
No, because Mom can do it.
Well, that's true. If Mom could do it, why do they need to learn it, huh?
Yeah.
All right, Miss Hines, we appreciate you entering in the quilt show. I hope you enjoy the holiday.
Oh, I will.
All right. So this year's quilt schedule today is 12 to 8 on Friday. Saturday is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We want to thank you again for joining us at the 70th Annual National Holiday Quilt Show, and thank you to Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. and Deputy Principal Chief Brian Warner, as well as the Secretary of State, Tina Glory Jordan, and Chief of Staff Corey Bunch for all they do for our tribe, our nation, and hosting the Cherokee National Holiday. We look forward to great things to come from our leaders and hope we see you guys this weekend. Wado.